Hello and welcome back to the wiring series on the wiring of a series. And today we're going to be looking at the fuse box and the ground block down here. So I like to say thank you to all the likes and subscribes and positive words and comments. You guys are awesome. Stay awesome and enjoy this awesome video on a fuse box. And I'd like to thank you very much and have a good one. Enjoy the video. Thank you. Bye-bye. The fuse box. So I decided to put the fuse box right here, right beside the dynamo regulator, because I figured this would be a good spot where the original one was. So I thought I'd go right here, and plus the wire runs wouldn't be as far. And then over here is where our grounds, all of our grounds or earths are going to be attached to this right here. So I put some screws in here just temporarily. I'm going to put nice bolts through there because this, you actually see on the other side, these are just temporary screws. I'm going to put some nice bolts in there so then you see nice bolts going this way and the nut will be on the other side. But anyways, so here, okay, so I can already tell this is where it's going to start becoming a mess. Everything was nice and smooth up until this point, until we get to the fuse box. So here's all of our wires. If you look at our wiring diagram, all the different colors. You see they have two wires coming in, which are the red over here, and then the other one's the red-yellow right here. If you're looking at the diagram, these are the two. This one's going to be a hot one. It's going to always be hot, connected to the battery and fused. Then this one's going to be run off of the relay, the main power ignition relay. So these 6 over here will be on a relay that connect what's on the wiring diagram. And then these ones are going to be all hot on this side. And you can ignore all this written on this thing because I'm just going to paint this black over this and flat black, and there won't even be any writing on top of this because none of it will be right. So don't look at this or don't follow anything that's on the fuse panel itself. So down here, I'm going to start connecting these wires to all the relays and the other items that go along, like the oil pressure gauge, all that kind of stuff. So, and the grounds, of course, will all be over to here. Let me start over. One relay is going to be main ignition. It's going to be main power that clicks on everything. The second one's going to be a brake light because I like having the brake lights on a relay so then I can hear it click and I know they're working. And the other one's going to be for the marker lights. So similar to the headlights, how the headlights have their own relay, they'll turn them on and off, go high beam, low beam. The marker lights are going to have their own relay too, so it'll power all the marker lights together in one shot. So those are the 3 relays, and I can already tell. Oh, let's go see where we're going to put the relays. So this is this side. This is on the inside here. So you can see here, here's the bundle of wires from the rear. Here's the bundle of wires from the front, the high beam, low beam, and marker turn. And this has the marker lights, turn signals, and all that right there. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to mount these relays, all 3 of them, right up. You can see there. I'm going to put them right here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to mount them right here. And these wires, these ones actually came with some really pretty long pigtails on the end. So then the power, which is the red, let's take a look at the diagram here. Come over to the diagram, here it is. We got our main ignition, marker lights, and brake lights. And then on there's your colors. Your yellow, red, black is ground, blue is actually going out to the power. So if you look here, we got blue, this is what actually powers whatever you want to be powered. Yellow is your signal wire. This tells the relay to click on and off. And then black is the ground, which is the ground for the relay. And what did I say? Red's your power in. Red's your power in and blue's your power out that actually is going to be powering something. So when you have an ignition and you have a switch and it turns it on and off, the power goes through the relay instead of going through the switch itself. So you can see here, we got different wires coming over to the fuse panel, and most of them are coming to the hot side. So, well, the brake is going to be on the on the powered by the relay side, the key side, and then we got the hot side. So a couple of these, like the ignition switch, is going to be powered from the hot side as well. So anyways, so that's where I'm going to go with the relays. Relays are going to be up behind the dash over there. So the weird thing is that, like I was saying about the pigtails, the pigtails were long enough that whenever I mounted in here, I could feed the wires through and over to here, or maybe I should cut them off and put a connector in there so I can change them out if need be. That might be a better idea. So what I'm going to do is on the relays, I'm going to put a connector on these things. So then I can shorten up these wires and have the correct color coming over to the fuse box. And then I can disconnect it and turn it on, connect it, disconnect it if these ever go bad or anything. That's what I'm going to do. Alrighty, I'm going to go work on some wiring and I'll be back. We're over on the workbench here and got all the wires hooked up to the fuse box and wires going to the relays. All I can say is this is extremely time consuming. That's all I got to say. It took freaking forever. And you end up with a million of these little guys. All the little nubs that you cut off on the strip of wires, you end up having these all over the place. So anyways, throw these away. So the relays. We got ignition. We got an I on that one. B for brakes and M for marker lights. So these are the relays, 3 relays I'm going to be using here. The ignition's going to be for main power. Click it on. It turns on this side of the fuse box. And also the fuse sizes. This is something you're going to have to figure out on your own. I kind of guessed with the sizes. But I'm not going to mention that because that's kind of something you need to figure out on your own. Like kind of like 5 amp fuses for smaller items, 30 amp like for the main power coming in, and 10 amp for maybe the lights or something, or the marker lights. And so you kind of got to get your bulbs, you calculate how many amps they're using, and you size your fuse accordingly. I would suggest Googling that to find out what size fuses you should be using and the amount of watts that are coming through. So, off to the fuses. So, we have our main power coming in. We got a nice thick wire coming in. And then we have our auxiliary, or fused power. This is the power coming in from the fused relay. So if we look at the wiring diagram itself, let me bring this over here. So here's the fuse box here, and these are all the wires that are coming out of the fuse box itself. So this is the one, when you buy it, it comes with these standard colors. I don't know if it's standard, but these are the colors that are coming out of the box. So if you have here on the diagram, here it is from left to right, all the different colors coming out. So then on my end, where I'm going to be doing the wires coming out, I have a color coming out. And you can see a little arrow pointing that the flow is going to be going that way. So then we also have some other colors here, according to the wiring diagram. So this side, like I said, is going to be hot. This is coming from the battery. And it's going to be this wire here, or whatever, the yellow, red, or whatever. So it's coming in hot here with a large fuse. So this side of the fuse box is controlled by one wire. And this is just how you buy it. It comes this way standard, with one wire does one side of the fuse box, one wire does the other side. It powers it. So I got the main power coming in. Here's the hot ones. And this is going to be hot wire going to the ignition, going to the brake lights, to the relays, and things like the starter switch and things like that. So on this side, this one's going to be fed by a relay that when you click power from here, it powers the relay. It's going to power this side. So this side only turns on with the key. So on this side, I kind of have like the wiper motor, the brake lights, the fuel gauge, glow plug relay, and the turn signals, and your generator or dynamo, whatever you want to call it, turns on with the key. So then on this side, you have ignition, main power going to the relay. Then you have ignition, just signal wire. It just goes to the switch. Then your headlight marker lights, this is going to be your marker light power. Then your key start or glow plug relay. Then your heater fan. Actually, I don't even have it hooked up right now. And also, if a USB port or a plug or interior light, whenever I hook that up, I'm going to have that wire coming off. But right now, I'm just leaving those blank. So then over here, it goes on, you continue or whatever. I have markups on here, and hopefully the one that you get it will be all updated or whatever. So, looking on here, I spliced them all on, and like here, I did a double coming off for the lights and stuff. And then here they are all put together here. And then for the ones that I'm leaving blank, I put some shrink on the end of it, so it'll stay, the glue kind of glue it in there and indicate it on there, so it keeps it so it doesn't spark or nothing. So there's that. And then the powers that are going in, you'll see that on the wiring diagram I have a lot of reds. So what I did is I thought for an idea is have different marks on the end, because once you feed this in to the dash, you're not going to be able to know which wire is what. So I just took a little shrink and I put like 3 on one wire, 2 on another wire, and then 4 on another wire. So these are all hot wires. They're going to be coming off the hot side, feeding relays and things like that. So I have this marked down on the diagram, but so that's what I did for that. So I'm going to go hook this up. I'm going to feed the wires in and around, and I'll be back. I have the fuse box back in, and I have the wires all put together and tucked in and going into a grommet into behind the dash. And I also have the ground bars here, and you can see I already have some wires hooked up. I started hooking up some ground wires. And in the wiring diagram, I don't really have lengths of these ground wires, but anytime you saw a brown with a little hook on it and kind of like that little ground symbol, that meant I just I ran a brown line over to here. So all these brown lines go to certain things. This one, so this kind of goes to whatever. Like you can see here, we'll talk about this in another video, but the generator or dynamo, see the ground comes right over down to the block right here. So, you know, this is kind of what I did with all of them. I put a connector on the end or a union, you know what I mean? Put it together. And then I just had an eye clip on the end, or an eyelet bolt. So then this one goes right over to the battery. This ground goes directly to the battery. So this grounds out this whole bar going across. So you can see I got more of them here, and I just kind of made them long and snipped them off and put them on. So that's the ground bar basically. So let's get back to the fuse box. So the fuse box goes in through a grommet. Let's go look over this way and I'll show you a better shot. There you go. We got our fuse box here, and you can see the wires. I kind of put a zip tie around them to kind of hold them together while you're feeding them in. And I kind of fed like 1 wire in at a time, 2 wires, a few of them kind of in there, and the bundle just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger as it was going, as I was coming through. And so I just started running them through. So let's go to the other side and I'll show you how it's hooked up. This is where it really gets organized chaos is what I like to call it. So let's take a look. All right, so we're in here into the organized chaos. So what we got here, here's the grommet. I was just showing you, it's underneath this here. You kind of see it right here. Right here is where they start coming in, right here, and they kind of split off every which way. And over here, you saw it in the other video, but I'll show it again. But here's the wires coming in from the back. This is the rear wiring harness. So what I did is I took a zip tie, I zip tied it onto here so it doesn't pull back through the grommet here. And then this piece, I had it real long with the sheeting or covering of it, real long, and it was hitting the ignition switch here, the power switch. So I had to snip, it was sitting about here, so I snipped that back and cleaned off, took some more of the sheeting off so I could bend the wires over off to the side. So then, okay, so we got these and the wires were all sitting here and everything, and then I had to put all the, I didn't put I put my little pieces of wire on there per the wiring diagram, the colors that I used. And then I fed them all through the hole. And then I put on the connectors. Whenever I actually fed it through, because it was kind of getting tight trying to get all the wires through that hole. So then I just left the connectors off. And while I was in here, I just kind of set up a little workstation, started snipping and heating up and crimping all the connectors on. So those were all in here. And then the relays, like I was mentioning before, I was talking about it. Here's the brake, the marker lights, and the ignition switch. If you happen to see here, see I got a hole right here. So I had all three of them perfectly placed right here, nice and spaced. It was great. It looked really nice. So then I did a test fit with all the wires and everything. And this, the light for the gauge hit right into the ignition switch relay. So, I mean, dead right onto it whenever I tilted it up and installed it. So I had to take it out and move it over a little bit, which now it's not all nice and straight. So the OCD kicks in, right, with some of the guys. So, so I got that on. So I moved that over. So now this whole assembly now fits up in here nice and smooth up inside and fits in here. And whenever you're trying to fit and you're doing the test fit here, I did have the throttle cable on and everything, and you got to make sure you scooch. See, that's the nice thing about having new wiring too. You can scooch and move all these wires and you don't have to worry about them shorting out or having a bare wire touching something or something coming apart. So that's why it's nice to invest in some good wiring and everything, so then you don't have a problem. You go and you put this on, you bolt it in, you turn on the key, and a fuse pops. So at least if you have like good connectors through everything, you can kind of push and pull and tuck this stuff in here, and you don't have to have a concern with it coming apart or falling off or anything. So I took this thing on and off a few times and trying to get a flashlight in there until I found out that it was hitting this. So, you know, and none of the wires disconnected, so it's working good. So here's the relays are in. Here's let's just look at this wire here. One of the wires coming off the relay. So this is your signal wire, the yellow. So you can see I put a little connector on the end, and the yellow comes, which is for the marker light, which is gray. So gray comes right over to the switch where we looked at before, so it turns on the marker lights. And then, yeah, so then that signals the relay to click on, and that clicks on and turns on all the marker lights. So then the brake light one, that goes down to the brake switch, the pressure switch, which is down here on this early series. So then that comes up here, it clicks this relay, it signals it, tells it to turn on and everything. So then the ignition, this is what turns on power to the fuse box itself. So whenever I turn this key on, it's just turning 12 volts, it's coming in. Here's the marker ones from the wiring diagram. Comes right out and comes over and tells this to click on. And that's all it is. So then all the power is going through here for the fuse box and for the truck and everything. This is just telling that relay to turn on. So you're saving your switch, and not all the voltage is coming through this switch. And also the high beams and low beams, none of the power is coming through here either. So it's just getting a little less, like a half an amp going through this whole plug right here to power everything. So what do we got next? So all the wires, when they come in, and you can see all the different colors. Like orange is going to orange for the oil pressure switch, and not without going through every single thing, but you know, like green here was the oil, what was that, the low fuel light. And we already have that hooked up. What else we got? We got our oil light. Yeah, the oil light here, the power's coming through here. Then you can see here, green, yellow. It's going right back out down to the switch. And a lot of this, it's just, if you follow the wiring diagram, a lot of these colors will make sense on here. So I fed them through. Conclusion is, I fed them through. I got them in here and I connected it all. I did a little test on it and it did click on everything. So The fuse box is hooked up now. The relays are now hooked up. So I know I've been babbling here for a while, but it's all hooked up and it's done. And I don't really want to show you every single thing that I hooked up, but coming back from the rear and everything, I did like here's the fuel line coming back. Instead of doing like a fancy little, I planned on doing a little bit of the matching color to here. And I had so much wire left over coming in from the back rear harness that I just tagged them. Here's the fuel light. You can see here, fuel gauge. Then I have the right turn, left turn, which we'll be talking about that in another video. And the marker lights and things like that. So the one coming from the rear, I just marked them. That's good enough for me. That, you know what I mean? I used some good tape and used it on there, mark it on there. That's good enough. So conclusion is that we're all hooked up. We got power going to everything. Everything works. So here's the dash going up. I got the speedo cable. Speedometer, not throttle cable. The speedometer cable kind of holding it in place right now. So everything's hooked up. So everyone wants to see lights whenever you do electrical videos. So here we go. We're going to turn the key on, and this is going to turn on the ignition relay back there. Okay, here we go. All right, we had some action going on here. What we got? Watch this light. This is the glow plug light. This will tell you whenever the glow plugs are warmed up. And it should turn off shortly. There we go. Glow plugs are lit. This is the low fuel light. It didn't turn on, which is a good thing because it was turning on before because I didn't have any fuel in the tank. So now I put in like 5 gallons of diesel and our fuel gauge now goes up. See that? There you go. So we got the fuel gauge working. Low fuel light turned off. There, the glow plug light turned back on again. And again, it counts up 15 seconds and shuts off. And that'll be in another video whenever I hook up the ignition switch, the starter switch. The glow plug one will be coming on. It will be coming up to this one. So anyways, so here's our oil light. Oil light's on. I don't have the switch hooked up, but again, in another video is going to be when I hook up the temp gauge and oil pressure gauge. I'm going to have this hooked up to it. But right now I have it just ground to the ground block now, so it turns on and lights up. Then this is our generator or dynamo. So that's getting power to the the field of the dynamo. So this will be another video too. Just as it will probably be a short one on that one, not much on that. So anyways, so we got lights, we got fuel gauge. We already tested our lights around everything, so lights are working. So this is going to be the end of the video because now we got this hooked up enough to do things with. So the next video will be, I don't know, one of the parts of it. So thank you very much for liking and subscribing. And if you made it to the end of the video, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all the positive words and all you guys that emailed me for the diagram. It's awesome. I'm glad you guys are liking it. If you have any questions, say in the comments below, or you can send me an email. It's all good with me. But thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.